Fallout has more than a few enemies that will live on in infamy, taking their place in future games, hopefully. Today is not such an enemy, due to both the circumstances under which it was introduced and the enemy itself. The enemy is the Gatorclaw, and was introduced to us in Fallout 4's Nuka World DLC. It can be found in Safari Adventure, and plays a role in the story of the place. A story that we will touch on a bit today, along with the Gatorclaw. A lot of people have wanted to know more about this creature that looks like a scrap version of a Deathclaw. What do they look like? What is their behaviour? Why are they here and where do they come from? Today I will attempt to address this and more. As mentioned in the Fog Mother video, liking and commenting does help the video, and I will once again talk more about that at the end. Now, let's gander. The Gatorclaw is a large creature, as large as a Deathclaw, in fact. I know, hard to believe, right? It moves and stands stooped over, like it has some lasting back problems that never really got sorted out properly. Poor shit. It attacks by swipes of its 4 clawed hands, or diving at us and attempting to take a chunk out. They can also materialize rocks out of nowhere and throw them, which is some evolutionary trait, I'm sure you'll agree. Some of them have even developed the ability to teleport short distances, really highlighting just how dangerous this predator really is. As opposed to the Deathclaw, their head is shaped differently. Like an alligator's, they have an elongated snout extending for several inches in front of their face, with their teeth sticking out at random points along the jaw. Their eyes are also much smaller than the Deathclaw's. They also line up with alligators, which have very small eyes. The Gatorclaw's eyes are not set as close together, however, or as high up on its head. They also lack the tongue that is present in the Deathclaw. The only thing present would be the glottis in the throat. Their hide has a leathery appearance to it, with the scales being much more distinguishable than those of the Deathclaw, and the colour being a deep green, clearly reminiscent of the alligators that they take after. They possess less armour-like plates and scales than the Deathclaw, instead seeming to rely on their tough hides for protection. As a result, they possess less protuberances and generally do not look as much like Satan, unlike the Deathclaws. Their claws are not as sharp either, bearing a closer resemblance to clawed hands as opposed to the straight-out meat hooks that Deathclaws be packing. Doesn't really decrease the amount of a threat they pose though. They will still try and eat your arse. We learn that they are aggressive to all non-Gatorclaw creatures, as can be seen when this one demolishes this poor Bramaloff. Poor bastard. This aggressive nature has led to the deaths of nearly every other creature that once seems to have lived here. Sito's ghoul-rillas and a few Yagwai notwithstanding. Now since we can still find some blood about the place, this means that this is all relatively recent, suggesting that they did not evolve here over time like many other creatures did. If not, then where did they come from? We will get to that. Gatorclaws are also in the habit of lying down in places, as if they're trying to hide and wait for their prey to come to them. This is once again another behaviour that seems to be reminiscent of alligators. However, one of the greatest behaviours we will see shall answer a question that I shall pose to you in the end. Inside one of the cages at the far side of the park, we find an animal enclosure with a pool in it that is being fed with radioactive water. Seems normal enough, until you look at what's hiding out in the bottom of it. Yup. It's a Gatorclaw. It seems that they can spend extended periods of time underwater, or at least they are comfortable enough in it that they will spend their days there. Again, similar in behaviour to an alligator. It's interesting, as it means this may be the preferred, or at least a liked environment for the Gatorclaws. Indeed, there is plenty of water to be had in Safari Adventure, with a stream running throughout most of it, which gives you a clue on why they are still here. Now for the really big question, why are they here? Well, to answer that, we need to talk to Sito, listen to a few holotapes, and head into the replication facility present here in the park. First up, let's get the 2 pieces of information out of Sito.
Sure, we can be friends.
Sito happy have strong friend. You kill monster alone. Monster strong, but you stronger. Sito happy you kill monster. Monster hurt Sito and Sito family.
What the heck are those things? Are they some sort of Deathclaw?
Death? Claw? Sito not know. Sito only know death bad and monster bad.
Well, it can't hurt you anymore, Sito.
No. Many more monster. No stop. Sito kill monster. New monster come. Sito kill monster again. New monster come again. Monsters not stop. Help Sito stop monsters?
Maybe. Do you have any idea where they're coming from?
Sito not know. New friend, follow Sito. Sito show you thing. Thing to help kill monsters.
You have a lovely family, Sito.
You say nice thing. Sito like new friend. Now you help Sito. Family in danger. Hide here from monsters. Here only place safe. Here have no food. Here have no water. Sito go outside to help family. Monster try to kill Sito. Sito kill many. More monsters come. Never stop. Sito scared monster hurt family.
Why bring me here then?
Listen to Sito. Sito have story. Story help stop monsters. Sito eat with family. Wrinkly man come inside home. Wrinkly man hurt. Sito try help. Wrinkly man say he make monsters. Sito mad at Wrinkly man. Monsters hurt family. Wrinkly man sorry monsters hurt family. He give Sito shiny thing. He say shiny thing help Sito stop monsters. Sito try help more, but Wrinkly man die. Sito put Wrinkly man in ground, but keep shiny thing. Now give shiny thing new friend. Help Sito.
Now there's a lot to be said about Sito, and it will be. Just not today. He does help shed some light on these creatures, however. They appeared one day and attacked Sito and his family. They continued to appear, no matter how many times Sito killed them, which would suggest a high level of reproduction, or perhaps something more. The wrinkly man is obviously a ghoul, and he claims responsibility for creating the creatures, once again suggesting it's more than reproduction. Oddly enough, using the Wasteland Whisper perk on the Gatorclaws tells you that they are all female. The ghoul was called Dr. McDermott, and he gave Sito a holotape. Let's listen to it.
This is Dr. Darren McDermott, last known survivor at the Safari Adventure Replication Facility. This is my final recording. I've done something horrible. The thing I created, the thing I called the Gatorclaw, they must be destroyed. They can't be tamed. They can't be controlled. Their sheer ferocity is like nothing I've ever seen. And now, the Nuka-Gen replicator is out of control. It's producing them at an alarming rate. Please, somebody, anybody, find my passcode, or Dr. Hines. Shut down the replicator before it's too late. And if this recording should reach Dr. Hines, please tell him to forgive me.
So Darren McDermott, eh? Well, you, sir, fucked everything up. His holotape tells us that the creatures came from the Safari Replication Facility. So cloning. Almost, but not quite. More like using a pre-configured DNA sequence to create something that may not have existed before the experiment, rather than cloning an existing specimen. He created the Gatorclaws, but surprise, reptilian killing machines are actually hard to control. To make it worse, the replicator is out of control, which explains why more and more of them keep appearing, regardless of how many Sito manages to kill. He then mentions a Dr. Hine, and that if he gets this tape, he wants forgiveness. Now that individual plays a larger role in the story of this place, as does another group here you should all be familiar with. However, they don't concern us today. All you need to know is that Hine is a partner of McDermott's, and he is likely long dead. Now that we know where we need to go, we can get a code off of Dr. Hine's body, and then use that to get into the replication facility, which is found inside the Welcome Center. Now, I know this isn't a Legends of video, but still, take a look at this place. It's clear from the amount of corpses that this area was being used when the bombs hit, not only by the staff, but also by several of the park visitors as well. From the strollers present, there were a few children here. We can move deeper into this place once we have the code, and it's from this point on that we will begin to encounter some Gatorclaws in here. These large rooms seem to be part of the replication facility, with this gurney likely being used to move animals or materials of a sort. The refrigerators upstairs were probably filled with a lot of samples at one point. Now, however, most of it seems to be empty. Now let's head through the double doors over here and take a look at Dr. Hind's terminal entries to see what they got up to in here. The first entry is from the 1st of January 2077, so a great example of professionalism here. He got too drunk and made the plans for some fucked up giraffe, anteater abomination. He doesn't think the animal would live very long. To me, this means it would live in constant agony and then die, but he says he is curious, which is not the last time his curiosity will come up in a cruel situation. Next is the 27th of February. It talks about the AFAD group, who we shall talk about when we cover Safari Adventure in more detail. It seems they're targeting him as they believe he is being inhumane to animals. His defense seems to be it's fine, we kill them swiftly, which, I mean, I get where he's coming from, I also get why they would be pissed. Entry the 3rd takes place on the 2nd of June. They were having some issues with the generated animals. I am also beginning to suspect he is cruel to them. I mean, it seems like the polar bears came out inside. Out? Jesus fuck. Once again, he says it was interesting, but only from a scientific point of view. Sure, Dr. Hein, we believe you. The second last entry was on the 19th of September. It references the mysterious Project Cobalt. Now, I promise that we will cover it eventually, but for now, I don't want to say anything more about it. Only that it has affected all parts of the park, even a facility as advanced as this one. The last entry is on the day the bombs hit, and is not where Hein's story ends, but it will be for this episode. He has been asked out to the Angry Anaconda, and spoilers, it's a trap. This explains why he has no follow-up entry. All these entries did highlight one important thing. The machine was a bit fucked up, and produced or generated some very strange combinations, some quite volatile, which is important later. Now, for the 2 journal entries from Dr. McDermott.
This is Dr. Darren McDermott, last known survivor at the Safari Adventure Replication Facility, continuing my personal recordings. It's been, hell, I don't know how long it's been. I think I stopped counting months ago. Or was it years? Even with the scientific equipment at my disposal, it's clear there's no going back from what I've become. The radiation from the bombs has taken its toll on my body, twisting and deforming my physical appearance. But instead of falling into despair, I've embraced the change and used it as a basis for my new cloning research. Perhaps this curse will turn out to be a blessing. I just wish Dr. Hein was here to guide my hand. I feel lost without him. This is Dr. Darren McDermott, last known survivor at the Safari Adventure Replication Facility, continuing my personal recordings. I've been continuing to modify the Nuka-Gen replicator to provide a source of food. It's ironic that the very same device Nuka World was using to create its animal specimens for leisure has become integral to my survival. Using a tissue sample from a cow, I was able to replicate a viable clone, consume it as food, then use the remaining tissue to create another. I figure as long as the Nuka-Gen replicator continues to function, I'll have an endless supply of food for years to come. Dr. Hein would be proud of my accomplishment. It's sad. It's been so long I've almost forgotten what he looked like. My God, it's been decades now. Maybe even a century or more, hasn't it? Has it been so long? I'll continue recording later.
So this confirms to us that McDermott is a ghoul, and has been living here the whole time. He's failed to find any way to reverse the ghoulification process. However, he, unlike many, has embraced his change and plans to use it to further his own research. However, despite the longevity, he feels lost without Dr. Hine, suggesting that Hine was the senior researcher in the facility. It may be his sense of purpose that has kept him from going feral, despite his isolation. We then learn that he is consuming food, which will complicate future videos, but whatever. He can use the replicator to produce a limitless amount of food. Begs the question though, where do the raw materials come from? Presumably some are required, even if the sequence is known, but we never see where these are stored, unfortunately. Next, we can take a look at McDermott's terminal, where the entries are somehow out of range even though it hasn't been that long. The first entry is on his body. It's been decades since the bombs hit, and he continues to change. He notes his skin is thickened, as if it's trying to keep the radiation out, which is a very unique thought that we shall come back to one day. He wants to study himself and see if he can apply what has happened to him to his research. What a little trooper. This entry appears to be before the holotapes. The second one touches on his mental state. He knows it's been a very long time and he hasn't seen anyone else in all that time, which is odd as some people did survive, relatively close to him, but whatever. He contemplates suicide, but responsibility wins out, once again highlighting how his purpose seems to have kept him going all these years. Entry 3 is when one of the backup generators for the lab dies. It seems it has lasted centuries though, so it's not that bad really. He thinks he will need to destroy everything if the last generator goes down, and considering what happens later, his fears the technology will be misused are completely warranted. He would have abandoned it before. Once again, responsibility stops him. He feels the technology could do too much good, and can't be thrown away carelessly. Entry 4 is the source of all this shit. He was out scavenging when he came across a corpse. A super mutant corpse, which is odd as we don't really see any in Nuka World. He doesn't know what it is though, except that it seems to be a genetic mutation of a human, and that he may be able to use it in his experimentation. This will definitely end well. The last entry leads on from this one, and it's when he is trying to make the Gatorclaw. He mentions the Jackson chameleon. Now as we know, that is one of the animals that makes up the Deathclaw. FEV was also used in the Deathclaw, and he's using brain samples from the super mutant for the Gatorclaw, which is ridiculous. Because of these two factors, this is likely why the Gatorclaw is so similar to the Deathclaw, because it shares so many of the genetic building blocks that led to the creation of the Deathclaw. He should have listened to his own questions at the end, because as we now know, it did not end well. Deeper inside the lab, we can find an albino Gatorclaw. Now it's the only other variant that exists. As you can see, its scales now take on a pale white appearance, with red marking the regions where different sections meet, and defining the outline of different muscles. Since we know that all of these came out of the replicator, that means that this albino was a simple fluke, something that happened simply due to an error, and given how some other creatures turned out, it's a miracle that's all that happened. There's also a nest present down here, complete with some eggs. As discussed, reproduction is very unlikely with these creatures, so I assume this was just a reused asset that Bethesda didn't edit. The last holotape from McDermott can be found here.
This is Dr. Darren McDermott, last known survivor at the Safari Adventure Replication Facility, continuing my personal recordings. I ventured outside today and almost got spotted by a group of wasteland scavengers that had wandered into Safari Adventure. Therefore, against my own better judgment, I'm going to attempt to splice a few of the more dangerous samples I have left in cold storage. I need to use the Nuka-Gen replicator to create some sort of specimen that's formidable, yet trainable. Something that can protect me, but most importantly, protect this facility. It will take some time to work out the chemistry and mathematics of the data, but I'm confident I can create a viable specimen within a few years. I know Dr. Hine would have objected to this course of action, but he isn't here, and I can't let this equipment fall into the wrong hands.
So because of that near sighting, he decided to create a creature that could protect the technology here. He thought he could do it in a few years. The last terminal entry took place after this holotape. He got the veracity down, but he needed the brains from the super mutant specimen he found. Clearly it didn't work out. As they went on a rampage, and as we previously discussed, he created an analog of a Deathclaw. Now to look at the machine itself. So before we shut it all down, let's take a look at the history of this program. The first is in the Gatorclaw itself. He says that controlling it will not be possible, and that he will terminate it, although I'm not sure how he planned to. The super mutant sample is still unstable. The next subject died shortly after it was sequenced, and failed to incubate. He incinerated it. Once again, this seems to happen primarily with samples related to the super mutant one. The last subject is odd. Correct me if I am wrong, but doesn't this sound like he produced a glowing creature? Now I'm not sure if it's a Gatorclaw or not, but it seems like something was created that was highly radioactive, and as a result, he killed it. Now if you shut the program down, you will be attacked by 2 Gatorclaws that presumably got in from the pipe, which is likely how they all got out of the lab in the first place. You can't turn the machine back on, but it kept getting stuck producing gazelles for me, unfortunately. So this skilly shit was the Gatorclaw, a creature that looks a lot like a Deathclaw. At least Bethesda came up with a story on why the model was reused. They were created by Darren McDermott, a researcher at the Replication Facility here in Safari Adventure. He wanted a creature to protect him and the technology, so it wouldn't be misused. It looks so similar to a Deathclaw because it used 2 components present in them, the Jackson Chameleon and FEV, which got into it from sample Q334, which was a super mutant. As a result, he was unable to control them, and they gravely wounded him, but not before he passed on his message to Sito. The Gatorclaws do differ in some ways from the Deathclaw, from their outward appearance, such as their head, to their behaviour, like waiting around in water. It's this behaviour that I think is part of the reason why they are still in the park. They either need water more so than other creatures, or they prefer it. Either way, Safari Adventure has quite a lot in contrast to the immediate surroundings of the park, so they may have chose to remain there because of it. Due to them coming from the replicator, and possibly design, they are all female, or at least appear to be. This means that they are unlikely to reproduce, which means that the only way to make more of them was the machine. Due to this, they will likely never spread now, even if we missed a few, and the species will die out. If the machine was left on, who knows how many could have been created. With enough numbers, they could have overran all of Nuka World and beyond, becoming a plague, much like the tunnelers could have, or perhaps already are. However, it's unlikely a large population would survive for long, as food would run out. The lack of diversity in the species is also due to them having come from a replicator, with one albino offering the only variation to be had among the whole species. Deathclaws were able to vary over time as they evolved and adapted, while Gatorclaws are still quite new, and would have taken several decades to centuries to acquire any new or significant changes. Knowing all of that, they still offer one of the most interesting backstories to a DLC exclusive enemy that we have thus far seen. As I discussed in my previous video, I want to test whether likes and comments affect views and rankings for videos, as has been recently suggested by many creators after the recent sub and views issue. I appreciate any support you can provide in this matter. In regards to not seeing my videos in your sub box, you may want to click the notify button next to the subscribe one, so you can get updates. I'm going to try and post more regularly for a while and see how I get on, so stay tuned for that. An interesting addition to the Fallout bestiary, and the story behind them. I hope you liked this look at all of it. If you did like it, give the video a like, and if you want regular updates, subscribe. Any suggestions for lore or future videos should be left in the comments below. Better yet, go onto my subreddit so we can discuss them in more detail. It's linked in the description. If you wish to, you can support me on Patreon. £1 or $1, I ask for no more. Any rewards that you would like to see that I don't have, message me and I will take a look. Follow me on Twitter or Facebook to get regular updates or have a wee chat. Any business you wish to discuss, email me at thenthapple.business@gmail.com and I will get back to you as soon as possible. I hope you enjoyed the episode and I hope to see you in the next one. And until then, goodbye.